Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you everything that you need to know about your Insta360 Go-To action camera. This little camera is absolutely incredible and I can't wait to show you all the things that it can do, plus all of its unique accessories. Let's get started. Start the unboxing by removing the top cover. You'll be greeted immediately with the Go-To. It's magnetically attached, so just lift it up with 2 fingers. On the back of the camera, there is a sticker that must be removed in order for the camera to charge properly. Just peel it off. Continuing with the unboxing, just flip it open like a book, and you'll be greeted immediately with the manual. The contents of the box also include a magnetic pendant, charging case, pivot stand, easy clip, and charging cable. Start by removing the plastic cover on the lens and the Go-To. Now grab the charging case and open it up. Place the Go-To on the upper lid of the charging case. It will magnetically snap in. Please note that the charging case is not waterproof, only the Go-To camera is waterproof. On the bottom of the case is the 1/4-20" screw adapter, USB-C port, and a small microphone hole. There are also 2 fold-out legs, making this charging case also a mini tripod. Now let's get familiar with the included accessories such as the magnetic pendant. This should be worn under your shirt. As you can see here, if it's worn on top, it will be moving around quite a bit. Wear it under your shirt for the best stable shots. The pivot stand is also magnetic and the camera will snap into place. It has a sticky bottom which is reusable and can be placed on any flat surface such as glass. The easy clip can be placed on visors or hats and is great for those POV shots. You may need to activate your camera when you first get it. Open up the Insta360 camera app and then press on activation. Now press the camera icon on the bottom of the screen. It will try to connect to your camera. It may also try to upgrade the firmware if it's outdated. Just press on start to download and let it update the firmware. Once updated, it will try to connect to your camera via Wi-Fi. Press on join and it will connect. To control the Go-To and to see live feed, press on the yellow camera icon on the bottom of the screen. It will quickly load up the live feed coming from the camera. On the bottom of the screen, you can scroll through the multiple different shooting modes. You can also access them by tapping on the hamburger menu to the right. Press the record button when ready. To the right of the record button, you can access the camera mode settings. This is where you can add your own custom ISO, shutter speed, and white balance values. And to the right of that, you can access the recording length settings. To prevent the camera from overheating, try to keep the setting at 5 minutes or less. On the top left corner, we can adjust the color, standard, vivid, or log. To the right of that, we can change the FOV or field of view to wide, linear, or narrow. And next we have the resolution and frame rate settings. I keep this at 1440p, which is the highest, and 24 frames per second. Aspect ratio is up to you depending on where you're posting this footage. And lastly, the 3 dots at the upper right hand corner will give you the options to enable the horizontal grid and histogram. You can also disconnect your camera if needed. Status indicator lights will tell you exactly what the camera is doing. When it's orange, it's charging. When connecting, it turns blue. And when recording, it will be flashing. The camera also features haptic feedback telling you when it starts and stops recording. You can also use the charging case as a wireless remote. On the front of the camera, there is its own record button. Press it once to start recording, press it again to stop, and hold it down to turn off the camera. In the app, you can change the custom button settings by going into Settings, Button Settings, and by pressing this button in different combinations, you can change the camera mode on the Insta360 Go-To. Set it to however you like. Now let's go on to the controls of the charging case and I'll explain what the settings are for the Go-To. Press the white button on the right to connect to the camera. Once connected to the charging case, you will see all of the camera's parameters, such as space left on the built-in memory, resolution, FOV, aspect ratio, and frame rate. Use the button on the right to cycle through the camera's different shooting modes, such as standard video, photo, pro video, time shift, time lapse, HDR video, and slow-mo. Once a camera shooting mode has been selected, hold the record button to access that shooting mode's settings. Press on the white button to scroll through the settings. Use the record button to change the settings. Here's aspect ratio, widescreen or vertical. Next is resolution. I try to keep it at the highest resolution possible for the best images. Next is frame rate. 24 frames per second is standard for film. And next is FOV or field of view. Ultra wide is the widest viewing angle you can have on the Insta360 Go 2. After that is the picture profile, log, vivid, and standard. Next is the timer option, which will automatically stop recording after the selected amount of time. Once your settings have been changed, scroll down to done using the white button, then hit the record button. Now we can go to the photo shooting option and change its settings too. You can use the automatic timer to take photos after the set amount of time, and you can have the option to shoot RAW photos or JPEGs only. Once you've selected those options, go down to done and hit the record button. The next shooting mode is Pro Video. Here you will find the most options for the highest quality video taking requirements. You can also change the aspect ratio like we saw earlier, resolution, frame rate, field of view, picture profile, and timer. Next is time shift. This shooting option is great for motion lapses. In the settings for time shift, you will see similar options that we've seen before, such as aspect ratio, resolution, frame rate, and FOV. In time shift mode, resolution and frame rate cannot be changed. Next is time lapse, which is similar to time shift, except the camera is static. And just like time shift, we have very similar options. Except with time lapse, we have the option to change the interval of how many pictures the camera will take during recording. Next is HDR or High Dynamic Range mode. This is an excellent shooting mode for complex exposure requirements. For example, if you're shooting outside with a lot of highlights and shadows, this will be the best mode to use. Next is slow-mo mode, which will automatically set the frame rate to 120 frames per second at 1080p resolution. This is for capturing those super slow-mo shots that many people love. You will find very similar options that we've seen in previous shooting modes. Next is the settings option, where we can change specific camera parameters. The first setting is wind reduction. You can set this to on or off depending on your shooting environment. Next is anti-flicker, which is set to auto. This will help compensate for refresh rates coming from lights and television sets. After that is the auto power off option. Then video encoding mode. H.264 is standard. To capture the highest quality video possible, set the bitrate setting to high bitrate. The next setting refers to the button on the camera. You can lock it to prevent it from accidental presses. The next setting is the language selector, automatic Wi-Fi connector, format the internal SD card, or reset the camera completely. Hit the About section if you want to check the firmware version or serial number. Now let's talk about some of the other accessories that you can get for your Insta360 Go 2 action camera. Starting with the Freewell ND filters. These are great tools that help you properly expose your footage. Start off by removing the included glass protector on the Insta360 Go 2. Be very gentle when you're unscrewing it. Now take the Freewell ND filter and screw it on. Be very gentle and do not scratch the glass. Now let's talk about customization for your Insta360 Go 2 using these custom skins. Start off by unscrewing the glass lens protector. Next, take the custom skin and make sure it aligns properly to the lens and status light. Then take the glass lens protector and screw it back on nice and tight. The next accessory is the monkey tail, which is a flexible little mount that allows you to attach the Insta360 Go-To to basically any object, especially to handrails. Use the screw port on the bottom of the charging case, then screw it onto the monkey tail and wrap the monkey tail on any handrail or any object, and you can see how versatile this accessory is. Next is the mount adapter bundle, featuring a magnetic screw mount, magnetic prong mount, thumb screws, and 3M sticky pads. Now let's talk about how you can get the most out of your Insta360 Go-To in the app or the Insta360 Studio program. On the bottom of the screen, press on the album option. You will be able to see all the footage that you captured with your Insta360 Go-To. Wait for all of it to load. Once the video files have been loaded, you can press on any one of the clips and immediately start editing them. You can see the timeline on the bottom, and you can use your finger to scrub through the footage frame by frame. Right above the timeline is the trim option to the left. If you press it, you can use the AI trim option, which will automatically trim your clip, saving you tons of time in the editing process. You can also manually trim the clips simply by pressing on trim and dragging the sides of the clip to your desired length. Tap the checkmark button when done. To the right of trim is Color Plus, which enhances the colors in your videos. Next is Snapshot, which will grab a screen grab of the current frame of the shot. You also have the option to add in your own music into the timeline. You can use Insta360's own music library. You have the options to adjust the volume and even trim the song. Next is Speed. When selected, you can adjust different parts of the clip's speed. You have many different options here, including motion blur, which will blur fast-moving objects to make the footage seem even smoother. You can always adjust the speed by tapping the red speed bar at the top to make it slower or faster. Next is the filter option. This will automatically apply many different color grades to your footage. Simply scroll and select the one that you like. You can also manually adjust the clip's parameters by tapping on Adjust, and you can adjust the exposure, color temperature, contrast, saturation, and highlights. Next is Freeze Frame. By pressing this option, you'll be able to freeze any frame in the clip. Simply tap on it and add the freeze. By tapping on Mark, you'll be able to mark specific parts of the timeline. This is especially useful if you want to make specific changes, but later on. And lastly, we have Reset Edits, which will automatically reset your clip to its default settings. And then Delete and Download. Delete will delete the clip, and Download will download the clip directly to your mobile device. By pressing on the 3 vertical dots on the top right corner, you can access more settings such as flow state stabilization. Since we didn't shoot this in Pro Video mode, we are very limited with our options here. Going back to the home page of the app, let's select Stories on the bottom right corner. These are basically pre-made templates that are designed by Insta360. All you really have to do is select the clips that you want to use, and the AI will automatically edit these videos for you. Now you can preview what Insta360 has done to your video. It comes with music too. If you like what you see, you can hit the yellow button at the bottom to save the video to your mobile device. Let's talk more about Pro Video mode. Clips that were shot in Pro Video mode give us many more options, such as aspect ratio. You'll notice at the bottom we have a new button with aspect ratios, 16:9, which is widescreen, 9:16, which is vertical, and 1:1, which is square. We also have the field of view options such as wide, linear, and narrow. And by pressing on the 3 vertical dots on the top right corner, we have access to flow state stabilization settings. It can be set on or off. You can even turn off horizon lock or keep it on. In regular video mode, we do not have these options. In Pro Video mode, we also have the option to use keyframes to adjust the angle of the shot. Hold your finger down on the screen and you'll be able to move around the frame, but don't move too far from the center, otherwise you'll see a black border. You can also slightly adjust the rotation of the shot too. Now move to another part of the clip and repeat the process. You will automatically make another keyframe. You can also delete these keyframes by scrolling to them and then tapping on the X button. During playback, you can see how the keyframes animate the angle. Remember to not move too far away from the center, otherwise you may see blurry edges or a black border. Next, export your video clip. Make sure it's set to the highest resolution possible, and if you shot in low light areas, select Remove Grain. Resolution should be set to 1440p, frame rate should be at 24p depending on the content that you shot, and bitrate should be at 75. Now you can tap on export and it will save the video to your camera roll. I recommend editing all of your go-to footage in the Insta360 app. However, you can still use their studio program for PC or Mac. Here it is launched up. All you have to do is select all of the video clips that were on your camera and drag and drop it to the left sidebar of the project. Once loaded, you can scrub through each individual clip on the left. By double-clicking on the thumbnail, you will load it into your timeline. You can use the timeline to scrub through the file, or you can of course trim it and add other effects. The top right video icon will give you access to flow state stabilization settings. You could turn it on or off, or you can enable FPV stabilization. Under that, we have options to change the field of view. You can also change the image processing by enabling Color Plus or Aquavision 2.0 for underwater sequences. For shots that use time shift or time lapse options, you can always load them up on this project and adjust the speed if necessary. And by shooting in Pro Video mode, we again get options to change the aspect ratio. For the best Instagram exports, make sure that the aspect ratio is set to 4:5. Then go to the export settings, change the resolution to 1080 by 1350. Bitrate should be between 13 and 15. Encoding format should be at H.264. And then you can start the export. You can also take screen grabs at any time by clicking on this button here. To see a full comprehensive tutorial on how to use Insta360 Studio, please check out the card at the top right part of the screen. And that's about it for the go-to action camera. If you want to pick one up, check out the link down below, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I'll see you in another video. Peace.